I think the one thing the psychedelic community is brilliant at is creating community and welcoming people into the community. Unfortunately, there's a lot of inauthenticity, but my experience, I've seen a lot of authenticity. And the people I've been able to work with in the space, I've been so grateful for. Just the humbleness and the inspiration. So I feel very inspired, especially after these 3 days. I'm so inspired by everyone wants to make a difference in the space. I think there's a lot of ego inflation, unfortunately, but we all know that. We all know that's a problem. But I feel the bedrock is the community created. And we can't do this work unless we're in community. It's all about finding your position, finding where you belong, finding where you fit in. Because this is not a given, you know.
Hi everyone, welcome to Psychedelic Conversations. Now I have with me Leanne Rowell. She is from the UK and she is with me in ICPR Psychedelic Conference in Netherlands, Haarlem. So it's actually our first time meeting in person, and this is really exciting for me to bring Leanne to you for a real and authentic conversation around the development of the psychedelic space and what is our position, our role in learning to incorporate the education and the practices of microdosing psychedelics in the larger role that we have or we want to develop as a service, help, mentoring, guidance, therapy, or actually guidance probably be more appropriate and fitting for you. So, Leanne, tell us about your background. Do you come from a corporate or shall we say a corporate job?
I come from a corporate background. I am an accountant. A lot of my friends call me a psychedelic accountant.
That's a nice one.
I train accountants, so I'm in the education space in the finance world. So I come from that space. I think I bring something quite unique to this space and in terms of process and structures and systems, from a very analytical way. And I'm looking to move into a more sort of soul guide around community building. And I'm spending a lot of time, the fascinating part for me is integration within communities and using psychedelics to build connectedness in communities.
It's so interesting you said that they call you psychedelic accountant. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
So this is really interesting because as of late I've been having conversations with a lot of people in the space where even when they have a corporate work or background, or even if they are still in their corporate jobs, when they say microdose or work with the medicines, they definitely bring something else into the space, or it's almost like coloring this job that you already do, which is kind of structured, but you're bringing so much more a different energy to it, different, more like creativity almost.
I'd like to say authenticity. I think bringing an authenticity to these roles, that we're not just accountants who are just doing that role. We're bringing something different and something more, and we can't just have the same people in the same environments. We've got to have diversity within each environment. And I notice in the psychedelic environment, I think it's changing, but everyone was very similar. They're sort of very creative, a lot of neurodivergent character, which is amazing because they come up with amazing ideas. But then there's also a need to work in the modern world we live in.
Yeah. It's almost like you are almost taking a role to bridge the gap.
That's exactly how I describe it.
This is exactly what I was trying to articulate and I couldn't earlier. I think I'm a little bit overstimulated by these 3 days that we've been overwhelmingly having these conversations and listening to the science of psychedelics and the medicines. But that's right, you're doing a really great job in bridging. And I think And the reason I'm saying this because I speak to a lot of facilitators. Some of our listeners that follow us, they meet incredible facilitators, shamans, medicine people, retreat leaders, educators in the space who are just doing this work, who are just committed to psychedelic work. And they are almost kind of escape the 9 to 5 and escape the modern world and its stresses and everything, which can look like a very alluring career that everybody is kind of desiring, almost like they wish they could kind of escape their corporate world and then come into this, it's very alluring, right? It's very inspirational, very outside of the box living. And but then if you think about, if we be realistic, not everyone's going to be a shaman or a facilitator or leading a retreat or a trip sitter or one-on-one guide. We're going to need still people who else will be doing the accountancy otherwise, or who else are we going to delegate it to AIs? Are we going to kind of move on from this? Because we're still going to have a lot of corporate, the corporate world is going to exist, I think, for a long time.
I think the only way to make this work sustainable and to make it accessible to people is if the work is sustainable. And if we aren't managing, we don't want to see the capitalism in it, but if we're not managing and managing our expenses, managing our incomes, and how do we make this sustainable so that we can keep the accessibility open? We can't keep doing the work for free.
Right.
Because if we do that, then we're not going to keep the work going. And so being able to manage that, and I really see my role as supporting people with the big ideas. And I don't think my role is any less than. I see it as a really important role in supporting people so they can develop their amazing ideas and they can keep pushing us into the forefront of what we're about to see. This is new territory for so many people. And I'm here to support and to guide and help them navigate this modern world we live in. And you can't ignore that.
This is exactly why I wanted to speak with you, because from a person that's have the background and, and also developing communities, building communities, kind of like you're 1 feet here and another, there is that concept. But at the same time, not all of us are going to be able to escape the modern world and then move to South America and Costa Rica and Peru, create a laptop life and buy a land and create a retreat, right? So that's kind of the misleading. There is a lot of this promotion, like it's been promoted a lot in the space, and there's going to be a lot of us still in the cities, in the dense cities, who are still going to be doing life. We cannot escape the modern world. So that's why I like what you're saying, that you can bring in the medicines to bring more authenticity. And
what comes to me though, when you say that, I mean, how do we serve the people who require and need the medicines if we are in Costa Rica when we've got a city in London of people who really need the work? We've got the UK. There's so many people that are crying out for the guidance and the support.
Yeah,
go and sit on a beach somewhere. It sounds wonderful, but I don't think it's possible.
So that leads me to, how are you finding or navigating this space when we have still very much, strict legal system around the medicines, and at the moment it's a very difficult landscape to navigate. How do you find that from an observer point of view?
I think the one thing the psychedelic community is brilliant at is creating community and welcoming people into the community. And there's, unfortunately, is a lot of inauthenticity, but there's my experience, I've seen a lot of authenticity, and the people I've been able to work with in the space, I've been so grateful for just the humbleness and the steadfastness and the inspiration. So I feel very inspired, especially after these 3 days. I'm so inspired by everyone wants to make a difference in the space. I think there's a lot of ego inflation, unfortunately, but we all know that. We all know that's a problem. But I feel the bedrock is the community created. And we can't do this work unless we're in community. and that feels, and I just feel all these happy, these smiling faces that you just warmth and welcoming.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. So it's almost like bringing the, community back online again and connecting so that we can all this together. I'm not even going to touch on the ego inflation part because that's probably like another whole session.
That's a whole other session, but it's been touched on a little bit, so it's in the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back to touch on those topics with me as well, because as a community builder, I think you've probably seen quite a different versions of, or different ways and layers of it. So it'd be nice to talk about it. Yeah. But for the purpose of this conversation, you are also receiving education on microdosing or in general psychedelic education?
Yeah, general psychedelic. I'm doing the 12-month Vital Psychedelics Today course. It's run by Kyle Muller, and it's been 6 months in. It's been amazing. It's very US based, so I do like to. That's why I'm loving being in Holland. So creating connections in Europe. So one of the electives I'm doing over the summer is the microdosing elective, which I think is really fascinating. And we do work on somatics, we do work on the compound structures, all the science, but then also on consent and harm reduction. And I've just gone. There's just it's just such a wide, broad. It's all encompassing, and again, what they've really been really great at is the community building. My study group is just the most amazing group of people. I just feel so blessed to be able to communicate with people that are in the same place as I am, also looking at where they fit in. It's all about finding your position, finding where you belong, finding where you fit in, because this is not a given, As a accountant, you can be a financial accountant, management accountant, this accountant, you can find, it's easy. There's all the positions are there. We're creating positions now. We're creating roles within the community, and it's up to us to define those roles right now. And so I'm seeing that happening in these communities that are learning and educating. Is we are naming, we are creating roles that we see are missing.
Yeah, this is great, and it's so valuable. Yeah. Thank you for touching on that. And as before we let you go, what would you say as your last ending notes on somebody who is listening to this and they kind of want to transition? That transitioning period can be quite uncertain. You can be lost in the fog, we say it in this, because psychedelic space is a very huge cosmic place of uncertainty and unknowns. What would you say? Is it been quite difficult to kind of find your way around, navigate the space, and also know what you want? How do you what would you say on that?
I think this is why this weekend's been, this 3 days have been so brilliant for me. Is as much as I'm trying to work out where I belong, I can see where I don't fit in, and that's okay too. I thought my analytical mind would be very drawn to the research. It's not, and I've seen that through going and sitting in class and sitting in talks. I can see I always thought maybe I should become a therapist, and well, there's a lot of barriers of being a therapist in this work. And so I can see, well, maybe do I want to impose those kind of barriers onto myself in this stage of my life? And so maybe that's not where I want to be. So I've seen a lot of where I don't belong. But I think it's really about just trusting your inner knowing, trusting that the universe has got your back. And maybe that's all very out there, but I really do believe that. And just taking breadcrumbs. I don't think this is a conversation with just a breadcrumb, just an offering. Say yes. Keep saying yes to new things, and trust your gut, and trust that you are going in the right direction. Watch out for all those signs the universe is throwing at you.
Amazing. You just dropped the golden nugget, because my mantra has always been, have you heard of the quote? I'm not going to say who it's from. There's a quote that says, say yes and learn in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been something that I've been following. Mm-hmm. And thank you for agreeing to this conversation. And when I was at Psychedelic Science last year, we have another psychedelic facilitator, integration facilitator, Shiri Godase. I think a lot of people know her name in this space. And I asked her the same question, and she said, show up. Go to the places, go to the conferences, go to the talks, lectures, do your research, be in places that are people are doing this already, and then follow the breadcrumbs.
Absolutely. And it's not without its sacrifices. You know, you leave your family at home and you come out and you do it. And it's not that easy.
It takes dedication, commitment,
devotion to your path.
Like any other path, I guess, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Leanne, thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you for amazing conversation, and we'll definitely have you back for more. Of course, follow your transitioning
watch
process.
Watch the space.
Right? So where can people connect with you? Online? Are you online? Where can they?
So I am not very prevalent online, but I do work for a wonderful community that is online. If you'd really like to be interested in how I got to where I got, I work for a beautiful organization, or organization feels too called Be Mythical. It feels too corporate. They're not really an organization. They're a place for old souls to connect with their myth of their soul path. It's a community. We're building a beautiful, beautiful community called the UNIO Academy. So you can find us at bemythical.com. I work with the gorgeous Leanne Rowell and Jonathan Wilkinson. Without them, I don't think I would be where I am. I don't think I would have had the courage to do this, as they've supported me for many years. And I am now working with them and supporting and creating and building a beautiful community of old souls who are navigating this modern world and are here to live out the myth of their soul path. And so, you can find us at bemythical.com. And the academy is called the unioacademy.com, and that's where we're living out our myth.
Amazing web of connections. And I also know Leanne personally.
Yeah.
Amazing work that you guys are putting out there. Thank you so much, Leanne, and all the best. I'll see you very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Again, please get in touch, drop a comment, say hello, don't be shy. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining us. Psychedelic Conversations podcast is designed to educate, inform, and expand awareness. For more information, please head over to psychedelicconversations.com. You can also share with your friends or leave a review so that we can reach more people. You can also join us in our private Facebook group to keep the conversation going. This show is for information purposes only, and it is not intended to provide mental health or medical advice. Thanks for listening.